What happens when a seemingly friendly daytime talk show interview spirals into one of the most uncomfortable moments in television history? When Noah Schnapp sat down on Kelly Clarkson's couch, nobody expected what was about to unfold. This was not your typical celebrity chat. This was a collision course that left the audience gasping, the crew scrambling, and both host and guest locked in a battle neither saw coming. Before we dive into exactly what went down, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below telling me whose side you are on after hearing the full story. Because trust me, you are going to have opinions. The studio lights were bright and familiar, the kind that signal comfort and routine. Kelly Clarkson walked out to applause, smiling with that relaxed confidence viewers have trusted for years. Noah followed her moments later, waving to the audience, settling into the guest chair with an ease that suggested this would be just another press stop. At first, everything felt normal, light, friendly. Kelly leaned forward, engaged, doing what she does best. She welcomed him warmly and brought up his recent travels in Europe, framing it as a fun, carefree topic. Noah answered politely, smiling, describing it as one of those rare moments where life feels full and exciting. But when Kelly shifted the conversation toward fame and pressure, something subtle changed. Her question about growing up, under constant attention, sounded harmless on the surface. Yet Noah hesitated. His response was measured, almost guarded, as if he sensed where the conversation might be heading. When he pointed out that Kelly herself understood public scrutiny better than most, the energy in the room shifted just enough to be noticeable. Kelly acknowledged the comparison, but quickly drew a line between experience and youth. She asked whether he felt like he was still figuring things out. Noah leaned back, crossing his arms, and replied that everyone is still figuring things out, regardless of age. The audience murmured quietly. Kelly smiled, but her tone sharpened. She emphasized wisdom, experience, and boundaries, hinting that time in the industry teaches you what should and should not be shared publicly. When Noah echoed the word boundaries, agreeing with its importance, the conversation reached a turning point. Kelly brought up online discussions surrounding his public statements and social media presence. She framed it as a question of responsibility, especially considering younger fans who look up to him. Noah's jaw tightened. He spoke about authenticity, about refusing to say what people expect just to stay safe. Kelly countered by stressing responsibility alongside honesty. That was the moment the friendliness truly cracked. Noah asked directly if she was referring to something specific. The room went quiet. Kelly insisted she was asking legitimate questions. Noah accused her of dancing around the issue instead of addressing it directly. Once the tension surfaced, there was no easy way back. Kelly straightened in her chair, her smile still present, but clearly working harder now. She explained that she was not attacking Noah, only asking about influence and responsibility. The kind of questions, she said, anyone with a massive platform should expect. Noah did not seem convinced. His posture shifted, arms crossing more tightly, his voice firmer than before. He said it felt less like curiosity and more like judgment. Kelly pushed back, reminding him that honesty does not cancel out impact. Words land differently when millions of people are listening. Noah replied that being authentic sometimes means being uncomfortable, both for the person speaking and for the people hearing it. He said pretending to be polished all the time feels dishonest, especially for someone who grew up in the public eye. The audience reacted in quiet waves. Some nodded along with Noah. Others watched Kelly closely, clearly siding with her experience. Kelly asked if he felt uncomfortable because the questions were fair but challenging. Noah laughed, not loudly, but sharply enough to cut the air. He said what made him uncomfortable was being invited onto a show, under the promise of support, only to feel interrogated once the cameras were rolling. That comment landed hard. Kelly's expression changed. She reminded him that this was a talk show, not a fan event. Conversation sometimes means disagreement. She said if direct questions felt threatening, maybe he was not as prepared for press as he thought. That was when Noah's tone rose. He reminded her that he had been working since he was a child. He said being young did not mean being inexperienced or fragile. The audience gasped when Noah mentioned Kelly's past controversies. It was not shouted, but it was pointed. Kelly's smile disappeared completely. Her voice dropped, calm but tight, as she warned him to be careful. Noah leaned forward, saying he was simply pointing out that nobody is perfect. and that owning mistakes matters more than pretending authority. Kelly reminded him this was her show. Noah fired back that it felt like a setup, not a conversation. He accused her of planning the narrative in advance. Production staff were now visibly active off camera, whispering and watching closely. Kelly stood up, signaling a break, but Noah stood too and said he was done. The power struggle became impossible to ignore. Kelly insisted he did not get to decide when the interview ended. Noah said he would not stay and be torn apart under the guise of concern. The studio felt frozen. No applause. No chatter. Just tension. The moment Kelly called for security, the entire studio shifted from tension to disbelief. Noah froze, clearly not expecting it to go that far. His anger gave way to shock, and for a brief second, the confrontation stopped, feeling performative and started feeling painfully real. He asked if she was serious. Kelly did not hesitate. She said he was being disruptive and disrespectful, and that this was a professional environment. 2 security guards appeared from the wings, moving carefully, almost awkwardly, as if they were unsure whether they should even be there. The audience erupted into chaos. Some people stood up. Others gasped. A few instinctively reached for their phones before remembering the rules. The room felt split straight down the middle. Noah laughed, but it was hollow. He said being removed for defending himself was ironic, especially coming from someone whose brand was built on kindness and relatability. Kelly responded that kindness has limits, and that he crossed them when he attacked her personally. Her voice trembled just enough to show this was no longer just a hosting moment. It was personal now. Noah said something that seemed to land deeper than any accusation before. He admitted that part of his reaction came from disappointment. He said he had respected her. He thought she was someone who understood the pressures of fame and mistakes. Someone who would protect younger artists instead of judging them. For a split second, Kelly's expression softened. Then it hardened again. She said she expected maturity. She expected him to handle difficult conversations without melting down. She said he made it personal, not her. Noah pushed back, calmly listing each moment where she implied he was not ready, not experienced, not wise enough. He said concern had turned into condescension, and that the word child changed everything. The audience reacted strongly to that reminder. Kelly took a deep breath, trying to regain control, but the balance was gone. She told him he was acting exactly as she feared he would. Noah responded that he was simply refusing to be diminished. That line earned scattered applause. The guard stepped closer, not touching him, but close enough to make the message clear. Noah raised his hands and said he would walk out on his own. Before leaving, he turned back and said he came excited for a real conversation, not a trial. Kelly replied that what she wanted was honesty, and what she got was a guest who could not handle being challenged. They locked eyes one last time. Noah said refusing to be a punching bag is not the same as refusing accountability. Then he turned and walked off stage, the guards following a few steps behind. Kelly stood alone under the studio lights, arms crossed, breathing heavily as the audience reacted in uneven waves of applause and boos. Something about the show felt permanently altered in that moment. The cameras kept rolling even after Noah disappeared into the wings. Kelly remained standing for a moment, staring toward the exit, her face caught between frustration and something quieter, harder to name. When she finally sat back down, it was heavier than before, as if the weight of the moment had settled in. She pressed her fingers briefly to her temples and took a breath. That did not fully steady her. She turned to the audience and tried to reset the room. Her voice was softer now, slightly unsteady, as she acknowledged that the exchange had not gone as planned. She said they were going to take a quick break and come back with something lighter. It was the language of damage control, familiar to anyone who has watched live television long enough. But the energy in the room had already changed. No segment after that was going to feel light. During the break, a producer stepped onto the stage and spoke to her in hushed tones. Kelly nodded, but her eyes were distant, replaying the confrontation rather than listening. When the show returned, she did her best to carry on, smiling when appropriate, keeping the pace moving. Still, something was missing. The warmth that usually filled the space felt forced, like a mask put back on too quickly. Backstage, Noah was surrounded by staff members offering water and reassurance. He thanked them, but waved most of them off. His hands were still shaking slightly, the adrenaline wearing down. He pulled out his phone, then slipped it back into his pocket, choosing not to post or react publicly in that moment. Whatever statement might come later, this was not the time. The audience slowly settled, but the whispers never fully stopped. People debated quietly in their seats. Some felt Kelly had every right to push hard questions. Others believed she crossed a line by turning concern into confrontation. By the time the episode wrapped, it was clear that viewers at home would be just as divided. In the hours that followed, clips spread fast. Headlines argued both sides. Some praised Kelly for demanding accountability. Others accused her of humiliating a younger guest. Noah stayed silent at first. Kelly did too, and that silence only fueled more speculation. Looking back, what makes this moment linger is not who raised their voice or who walked off stage. It is how quickly a conversation about responsibility turned into a battle over respect. Two people with different experiences, different expectations, and different definitions of honesty collided in front of an audience that was never going to agree.